Tour Junkies.
What's going on, golf addicts? DB here with the Tour Junkies, riding solo as my boy Pat Perry is locked up in a family fishing trip and skimming the lovely waters of Fripp Island. And he couldn't join us today, and I'm disappointed because it's going to be a good interview. I have a feeling, but he's disappointed as well. But we just, we got to make it work around these players' schedules. And I got to say, I don't know that I've ever gotten up at 9 in the morning for a tour player interview, but I'm doing it today. I feel good about it. For those of you that can see me on screen, I don't look good, and I had a long night at the club last night, the golf course last night. So I've got my coffee in hand. Normally I have an alcoholic podcast juice beverage, but not today for this interview. This next guest has probably already woken up. He's probably had a rigorous workout. He's probably, I don't know, he's probably read a book this morning. He may have, he's probably, really shown his wife some love and affection. I don't know. There could be all kinds of things that he's done before me, very much more productive. But he also is joining the Tour Junkies podcast for the first time, hopefully not the last time. He's quite the stud. He's a young guy off the Korn Ferry Tour, rookie on the PGA Tour. All-American in college in an SEC school, which is a big deal to us, University of Arkansas. He's from Denmark, Mr. Sebastian Cappelen. Welcome to the show, man.
David, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
How was that intro? How would you rate that intro?
Spot on. I would say there's truth to it.
Okay.
Not all of it is true.
Because I guessed on what your morning looked like.
I'm definitely sitting right here with a coffee in hand. And the night was a little longer last night than it needed to be, so
nice.
Not necessarily full workout this morning.
Okay, well, what was your night like last night? You gotta, I mean, if it's not that sexy, you can make up something.
I don't need to make up something. We had a good family birthday up here in Hilton Head Island. And it was an 80th birthday, but the whole family was together, and my wife's side of the family, and a lot of the cousins, and a few other young people as well. So it was just fun. We had a good time, and had a cigar, and had a little alcohol, and went to bed too late. You know the story.
Yeah, an 80th birthday. That sounds electric in Hilton Head too.
I know.
No doubt.
A lot of generations.
Yeah, I love Hilton Head. Pat used to live in Hilton Head. My family frequents there often. It's very close to Augusta. It's a lovely place.
I know it's very neat here.
What's your favorite golf course in Hilton Head?
I played a couple of them by now. My wife's family is up on the north side of the island in the Port Royal Plantation. I've played those couple of courses in there, and I played Harbortown, which is obviously one of the better golf courses on the island. You got to be spot on off the tee, and you don't have anywhere to put the ball if it's not in the fairway. So, I've been actually, to go a little bit off of Hilton Head Island. I think Secession, just up in is that Beaufort it's in?
Yeah, I'm not privileged enough to get up there, man.
Secession, that's a beautiful golf course, right in the marsh. Everything, that's a gem, hidden gem.
Well, Sebastian, tell some of our listeners a little bit about you. I mean, I mentioned you played for University of Arkansas. I mean, I'm a Georgia fan, but SEC guy. Okay, great. Great college career. You've had a couple stints on the web.com/Korn Ferry. One last year on the Korn Ferry Tour at the Rex Hospital, and you've been making some cuts, so far in the rookie year on the PGA Tour, but I would say, tell the listener that doesn't know much about Sebastian a little bit about your golf life, your upbringing, and just a little bit about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the core of my values go back to obviously being from Denmark, growing up there, growing up in a sports family with my dad. He played professional soccer. That was his career until he retired, which is obviously, it's a shorter career, obviously. So you got to figure out what you're doing after, unless you're really, really good. But no, growing up there and playing golf in Denmark, and you kind of got a feel for, okay, what was the route people took? I mean, it was being part of the national team. You got to get some international experience, play with some good amateurs around Europe and around the world if you're lucky. And then you don't have the college sport there. So you kind of just say, okay, am I good enough? Am I going to turn pro? Am I not going to turn pro? And some of my friends that I play with growing up, I mean, they turned pro when they're 18, 19 years old. And I see some of them today that they're doing great, but I was like, everyone's doing the same, and I see too many I need to fail. I need to figure out a different way. And then my coach back in Denmark had a good relationship with assistant coach at Arkansas at the time, and all of a sudden this opportunity fell into my lap, and I was like, wait, college? What is that? So I kind of got opened up to a new world, come to the U.S. and being able to study and play a sport at a high level. So there's a lot of new stuff for me happening, but at the end of the day,
did you move from Denmark to go to college? And so you moved to the U.S.?
Yep.
Wow.
All of it.
And then you just get thrown right into SEC, Arkansas college, culture, life in the U.S.
Yep.
That had to be an adjustment.
Yep. No expectation. I had no idea what I was getting into. My parents just dropped me off at the airport in August 2010, and it was like, see you later.
Jeez, thanks, Mom. I'll be fine.
Yeah, but the core of it for me was that it's always motivated me to kind of prove people that there's a different route. And I'm not still that way, and that's why at this point now it's a big milestone for me I know there's Lucas, another Danish guy on the PGA Tour now, but I've been the first Danish guy to go this route, play college all 4 years, stay in the U.S., go through the Korn Ferry Tour, get on the PGA Tour, full status the whole way, win on the Korn Ferry Tour, and hopefully someday win on the PGA Tour. But no Danish golfer has ever done it, so it's been part of my motivation the whole way to try to be the first one. And I mean, I have more goals for the future that hopefully will be the first Dane to do. So
yeah, that's awesome. What kind of player would you say you are? Like, I see you as, a little bit of, I mean, obviously the Tour Junkies, we evaluate players every single week. We're looking at, what kind of player they are. Do they fit this course? Do they kind of not? Do they have the skills that our dumb minds have said would translate onto this golf course? So I see you, and you correct me if I'm wrong, from what little we've seen of you so far, I see you as a long hitter, kind of a bomber, a ball striker type. Would that be accurate? Are you a longer guy?
Pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the longest, but I have a gear that is one of the longer on tour, which obviously I have to try to play to and try to use that advantage.
Yeah. What else? What are some strengths of your game, weaknesses of your game, maybe some things that you're working on, especially that you feel like if I could just bring this up a notch and put it all together, I'm going to win.
I think it's always hard to sum it into two sentences, but for me, the weakness that I'm always trying to work away from is trying to not get too. I love playing creative golf and I love playing fun golf, but to some extent, you also got to be able to say, okay, I need to find the robot a little bit more to say, okay, I can hit the switch. I know the ball's going to start here. I know it's just going to turn a little bit. It might not be the greatest shot in the world, but I know where it's going. So for me, balancing out the time and the place for, okay, we got to pull off a field shot here, or this is just let's swing a 3/4 and just hold the hands and let the ball just fly so much straight. It doesn't really matter if it moves a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, or if it's really high or if it's low. I just need someone that kind of just falls in between the goalposts right here. And that's, for me, balancing that and trusting that through a round, because sometimes I just get too into the feel mode, and then every shot's become simple shots become too much of a challenge with trying to feel it and be creative with the shot. So just trying to balance that, I think, is sometimes my struggle.
Do you ever get bored playing in a tournament? I'm talking about in one of the 4 rounds of a golf tournament on the PGA Tour or Korn Ferry. Do you find yourself getting bored?
You know what? I have had a few times where it happens, and it's the weirdest times when it happens. Really, actually, it's when did I have it happen? I had it happen a couple of months ago. It was in a Corn Ferry event, I think. Or was it? No, it was I think it was at the Greenbrier. I think I made 15 pars in a row or something like that, starting on the first hole. And I just look at my caddy, dude, what are we doing? And then it was not really bad. It was not really great. We just felt like 15 holes went by and in like a snap of a finger. And we're like, what are we doing? And then I finally made a birdie and a bogey. I'm like, okay, this feels right. So that's the round after you look at each other. Can we just make 6 birdies and 6 bogeys instead of 15 pars and 30 and a bogey?
Yeah.
It's just not exciting, but those days happen. But I don't know. Everything has its positives and negatives, and you just got to figure out a way to learn from it and take something with you.
That's the reason I asked that question is kind of funny. Just last night, a friend of ours is playing in the CJ Cup, and like I told you, I had a late night last night. We had a one-day member guest event at my spot, and we were after the event. We stayed there a long time and sat around the bonfire and had a good night. So I was home getting late. I was late getting home, and I get a text, a screenshot of a hole at the CJ Cup, and it says, "Should I go for it?" And I'm like, and I'm looking on my phone. I go to the PGA Tour app, and I'm like, wait a minute, he's on a par 5 right now, and he just sent this text message. Pat was in the group. It was a group thread, and I'm like, aren't you playing right now? What is going on? Like, you're playing in a real golf tournament. And he replied and said, bro, golf is boring. And I'm like, dang. I think for amateurs, you know, that maybe don't play it as much as you guys do, you know, for me, golf is never boring for a couple of reasons. One, because I don't get to play it as much as you. You know, I mean, if you're working that week, you're playing, you know, 5-6 days a week. Number one, so I don't get to play it as much. And number two, my golf shots are much more variable than your golf shots. So it's always interesting when the ball meets the club face, and it's never a dull moment. But it kind of made me think about it last night. I was like, dang, I wonder if these guys did get bored.
You're absolutely right. I think that's why I'm the type of I need it to be interesting, and I think that's why I play the way I do. I try. I mean, I'm the same way when I play. Every level, I try to just figure out, okay, how can I differentiate myself just a little bit to just create an edge for myself, to give myself an advantage or whatever it is. And it a lot of times ends out in like, okay, Houston Open last week, like no one starts it unless it's Bubba, and no one starts at 30 yards in the water on the left and just cuts it 40 yards into the fairway. But that's me. That's how I play. And I'm like, okay, I'm keeping it interesting for myself. Because sometimes if you start playing, the smart player says boring golf is the way you make a career. And I get it. But sometimes when the boring golf doesn't work, then it's really boring and it sucks. So for me, if I can keep it interesting, hit shots that I feel like, okay, I can feel this shot, or this shot is going to excite me, I'm going to do it.
So would you say you're more of an aggressive player, like by other standards out there? Yeah.
I'm your calculated aggressive player.
What about who's your caddy? What's your relationship like with them? How long have you guys been working together? And I want to know, I always like to know, like, what's the mood for you guys on the course?
Yeah, my caddy, he's got an interesting story. His name is Ed Alton, and he's originally from Canada, but believe it or not, he lives in Colombia, the country.
Okay.
And he has his residency in Ecuador.
Is he a drug lord on the side? Do you know?
No comment.
Is he a narco?
We do the business on the course, and we're really good at it. So I don't worry about what goes on off the course. No, he's a super guy. He sold meat commercially for 25 years. Believe it or not, and this is his retirement. But he's a really nice guy. We've been together for just over a year and a half by now. We got introduced to each other. Not this season on a Corn Ferry tour, but through last season through some mutual friends, and he was kind of new actually to last season on the tour, and we just hit it off right away. And for me, it's important in a caddy to just you have to be able to get along with him. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you look at it, if you go into, like, if you hire a caddy thinking that he's going to save you strokes, then you don't believe in yourself. And then I just think, I mean, unless, I don't know how you get to that way, but anyone working with a caddy will, like, you have to know that you're the golfer, you're hitting a shot. Fair enough, if you have an arrangement, your caddy can say, okay, this is my fill and bones, this is my overrule, or whatever it is. He has however X amount in a tournament or in a season. Fair enough, but then you have set expectations. But you just can't, the relationship caddy player, you just can't expect your caddy to save you strokes. I mean, he can make your life a lot easier and help you not make stupid mistakes like calculating errors and yardages and wind directions and stuff like that. But your caddy never hits a bad shot because you're the one hitting the shot.
So when you guys are working, is it a pretty light mood? Are you talking about,
Yes.
Are you one of these guys that likes to talk about things not going on with golf, or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We both love tequila, and we both love food. We always talk about, oh, what did you go eat last night? What you have? What did you try, a new tequila, or did you try a new bourbon or something? That's always our conversation. Something that's not regarding golf, sports, or whatever it is.
What's your go-to tequila right now? I'm really enjoying the Casamigos Blanco at the moment.
Yeah, that's solid. That's what my wife likes. She likes the Blancos. I'm more into the Reposados. I got to have a little age in them.
Okay. Well,
But
see, you're young and fit. I need the lighter, less sugar and all that. You know, I got a bicycle tire around my waist I got to get rid of.
Funny story. Last week in Houston, so my caddy's name is Ed. And because he lives in Colombia and he speaks fluent Spanish and he speaks Canadian, which sometimes I have to translate to some of our pro-am people as he gets into the Canadian. I always call him Don Eduardo, and try to speak Spanish to him sometimes. And then last week I get into the locker on Friday afternoon after we shoot 4 under in the howling wind, and there's a bottle of tequila sitting in my locker, and I look at it. Oh, it looks weird. And then the tequila is called Don Eduardo.
Oh.
And I've never seen it before, but that was a fun little gift. He was like, "Oh, you deserve it after this round because it's all me." I'm like, "Yeah, that is all you."
I like the little humble brag you threw in there on that 4 under on the windy day there on Friday. That was a pro move by you, Sebastian. I like that.
Yeah, you got to learn how to do that.
Yeah, you got to be proud of that.
I know. I just went through a PGA Tour orientation. It teaches us a few tips about how to talk in interviews.
What else did they tell you in that? Like, was there anything in there that just made you go, "Are we serious right now?" Like, was there any head scratching moments in there?
Without getting in trouble, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, we got to be very careful here. Yeah.
The whole. I mean, obviously they covered everything from logistics, player relations, sports betting, whatever it is. But the doping section, drugs, and that kind of stuff. To me, I'm all for it. We need to have control. But they just spend an hour. To me, it should have been, we have a drug policy. Here it is. Read it. If you don't comply, you can get disqualified. You can get suspended, et cetera, et cetera. It should have taken 5 minutes, but instead we spent an hour on talking basically about every product that there is that guys use. And, if you use this, then you'll get in trouble. So, no, it was,
yeah,
it was good. I mean, I knew they had to go through it, but to me, that could have taken 5 minutes.
Anything on the sports betting side other than, like, I know that they've been very public about, you can't, like, you're not to be gambling on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
But anything else that really they push?
I mean, I don't know how much you know about the new ShotLink. I think, what's his name, Matt Wallace, something like that from ShotLink. He was there and had I'm not even supposed to. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about this yet, but I'm going to.
Okay. Let me know within 48 hours if we need to cut this out.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested in this because this is something that's important to us and our listeners.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've noticed at the tournaments that around every green, they have like 3 black tall cameras set up.
Yes. They're like 360 cameras.
Yes. Or I don't know if there's 360 cameras, but they're like in a triangle around the greens looking at the greens.
I saw it at East Lake.
they're rolling out some really, really cool new data and tech that they can do in terms of ShotLink and in terms of sports betting. I think it's going to go that route. Like they say, they're going to be able to do things real time. So when they'll get data to actually predict way more stuff on the greens, because they'll be able to start seeing those cameras will see the balls roll in real time. So they'll start be able to predict guys putting left to righters, right to lefters. They can actually measure exit velo speed off the putters. So you'll see a guy have a 20-footer and you'll see whatever the tour average is, 12% make percentage. It'll start at that by his ball when you see it real time. But as soon as he hits it, it'll have the speed, the direction it came off of, and then it'll know because they have all the green reading materials. They'll say, okay, now he has a way better chance halfway through the putt. And you'll see the percentage jump up because he actually hit a good putt.
Jeez.
Or if he hits a terrible putt, that percentage will just go to zero right away because they know the speed he just hit it and the putt he has. There's no way that ball's going to make it to the hole or something like that. So they're saying that they're doubling the amount of data that they're going to get from ShotLink going forward. Which not like we didn't have enough already, but it's crazy what they're going to be able to do. And coming into the greens, because those cameras see the ball, they can actually see the ball in 3D and you can see where it lands. You can see, okay, did that ball spin? Did it roll forward? I guess that's more for the players. Like you start being able to see, okay, your landing spots versus where the ball finishes, et cetera. So it's pretty breakthrough technology that they're having coming out.
Now you're 4 events into your PGA Tour career, right? And so you probably
Yeah.
haven't. Plus, at this time of year, like the gambling audience is tailed off a little bit because it's NFL season. But like you probably haven't. I'm assuming you haven't really heard anybody, fans or anybody yelling at you about being on their DraftKings team or betting on you or anything like that.
I had a friend out in California who just before, I think it was a couple of tournaments ago, I think it was for Sanderson maybe. He just said, "Good luck this week. You're on my DraftKings team." But that was it. I mean, obviously they told at orientation, they talked about all this stuff, like how even your friends and family. I mean, family obviously is not supposed to, but someone that I met last year and don't really have a close relationship to, I mean, you can't go through your phone book and tell everyone, hey, you know me a little bit. You can't ever use me in your whatever sports betting. Yeah, I don't. We just have to be honest about it, and I think everyone gets it at this point, but I think they still have. I mean, it's hard to control for them, I think, but they're working hard on keeping it straight.
Forgive my ignorance here, but in Denmark is marijuana legal, and is sports betting a thing that's very widely accepted and done?
Sports betting is hugely it's so easy. I grew up with it. I mean,
right.
Especially, I mean, soccer is obviously huge in Europe, and that's what most people were betting on. And I would do that as a hobby with some of my friends when we were younger. Just go down with $5 and find a couple of games, put $1 on each game, and maybe get $10 back or something. But no, I think on the marijuana side, I think Europe is trying to get there. I know Denmark they've allowed a large Canadian cannabis company to put their European headquarters and growing facility in Denmark, actually, as a trial. So it's coming within the next couple of years. I think they're gonna make a big decision on whether that's gonna be legal or not.
Yeah, I thought about that just coming off the Matt Every news, and you're talking about the tour, talking about this, and Every coming out, with a prescription for medical marijuana for a mental health condition, and then he gets a 12-week suspension on the tour. Which a lot of people in uproar about on Twitter, and I don't necessarily expect you to comment, but I was just that's kind of what got me thinking about it when you're talking about the tour and that meeting you went to, and especially for somebody like you, if you were coming from a place where you grew up betting, you grew up where that was something that was just very ingrained in the culture, and it's a lot of adjustment for players like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they told us exactly on the tour. They said, listen, if you have some sort of condition and you need to take this drug or need to use this medication to, like your doctor says you have to take this, then they say we have we have a process. You send it in, we look at it, and we have X amount of people, blah blah blah, and then we're going to give you a decision. So there is a way to do it and get it through. But then again, then you can say, okay, why did this player get it and this guy didn't? That situation is probably going to happen, but
yeah,
that's how it is with anything. When you're trying to get something approved that technically in the rules aren't allowed, you're going to have human minds and human bodies make the decision for you, and there's always going to be some discrepancy with it, whether it's correct decision or not. So
yeah. You seem like a pretty sharp guy, Sebastian. What was your like? If you weren't playing golf, what would you be doing?
ooh, that's a good question, but that has a lot of answers. I think there's
Well,
answers that my wife wouldn't like, and there's answers that my wife would like.
Hit us with both.
I mean, this is probably more the wild one. In a different life, if I could just be a Formula One racer in one season, that would be like ultimate for me.
Nice.
So I love the sport. But probably more realistically, I would probably do something in commercial real estate, private equity side.
Mm-hmm.
I have some connections there now. So they've introduced me to that industry, and I know it's a tough industry, but I like working with real estate investments and stuff like that. I don't know,
That's
just
cool.
one day to get behind the wheel in a Formula One car and just do one lap.
Are you a car guy now? Like, do you have a couple cars that
Yeah.
are you like a mini Ian Poulter?
I guess I'm a mini Ian Poulter, but I don't have a couple. I have one. Well, my wife has one, and I have one.
Okay.
And I've had a few already in my short life, which is probably more than most people my age.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely
That's
something
cool.
that's cool. Like I love cars, and I've always liked cars growing up. So
back to the like you as a player in PGA Tour, like what's it like for a guy graduating from the Corn Ferry Tour? I mean, you're constantly getting reshuffled and statuses change and all that. Like, do you feel like at this point, like how much of a luxury do you have in your current status to play the events you want to play versus playing? And do you look at these events and these courses and evaluate the golf courses and go, well, like I really don't know that that's the best use of a start for me because of how that course sets up. For example, like Harbortown, I would think,
yeah.
or like how much of a luxury do you have in playing the schedule that you want to play right
Not really much,
now?
actually.
Not much.
No, most guys coming off unless you win the Corn Ferry Tour money list, like Scotty Scheffler, he's fully exempt into everything except all the invitationals. Then everyone has to especially in the beginning, before the first couple of reshuffles, you kind of just have to play what you can get to get some FedEx Cup points and get up on the list so you stay up there when you reshuffle back. And I knew that coming into this, and it's the same thing. I was in that kind of same category on the Corn Ferry one year where I played off my past champion status, and I needed to make some cuts early to reshuffle up on the list, which I did. But I knew exactly what it's about, and I know quite a few of the guys that I graduated with this year, and have been on tour before, and kind of got me in the loop to understand what you need to do. So for me, it's just playing what I can get and just being able to adapt and be where I need to in a certain moment.
Are there courses though that you've looked at or you've thought about or maybe you've seen in the past that are on the schedule? Maybe it's here in the fall swing or maybe it's starting in January when it really ramps up, that you look at and go like, man, I think I could kill it on that golf course. Like, that course is made for me.
Yeah, I have a few. I mean, we played in college. We played quite a few of courses that they do play on tour.
Yeah.
and I knew Houston last week was a good course for me. But obviously, I've never played it when it hasn't been overseeded because like it's the first time they have it in the fall.
That time of
And all
year,
the times we played it in college, it's always been in the spring when it's been overseeded. And I knew I loved the course when it was like that. It's because it is a long hitters course. If you can take advantage of the par fives there, you're really well off. But it played quite different now with not being overseeded and being all Bermuda with more rough and so forth. But another one like the Memorial I love that golf course. We played Ohio State's tournament there quite a few times, and I think that course sets up really well for me. It's a fairly long course, and I love the turf there, all bent. That's what I consider myself playing better on. Even though I live in Florida and have to play on Bermuda all the time, but
yeah,
I love bent greens. That's where I'm most comfortable.
That's interesting. So we talk about that too. Sometimes talking heads like us that have never played golf at a competitive level, and we're just guessing based on stats and stuff on who's going to be the better player in the most variable game on the planet. We talk about like grass surfaces, right? And how much more comfortable a player may be on bent grass versus Bermuda versus POA. So that's obviously a real thing for someone like you. Do you think that's a real thing for most players on the tour? There's always like one surface that they just feel better about, or they tend to read better, or they tend to, I don't know, just feel more comfortable on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I couldn't, I think it would be very unlikely if a player said that I'm comfortable in everything.
Yeah.
It's just, it's different enough to where you have a preference, I think. Bermuda is just, I mean, if you grow up in Bermuda, I think you're going to prefer Bermuda because it's just, Bermuda is just tricky sometimes because you have different Bermudas. Sometimes you get a Bermuda that's pure and firm and you don't really have to worry about the green. But then other times you'll get a Bermuda that's like, if you don't know where you're going with the green, especially chipping or hitting into the green, the ball, like you can land in a spot and it'll just stop there or it'll just go way forward, depending on if you're flying it into the green or flying it down the green. But it's you just have to learn it really, and then you have to trust it. It's a big part of it. You'll have some definitely on Bermuda where you think I did exactly what I needed to there. I just don't know how it took that bounce or whatever. But that's Bermuda's it's a weed, so it's inconsistent.
Yeah. Have you? What's like? I mean, obviously saw a lot of success on the Corn Ferry, and what have you felt so far in just 4 events as like the biggest difference the biggest adjustment going from Corn Ferry to the PGA Tour?
I think I've just had to maybe just dial it back a little bit. You don't have to feel like you have to make birdie all the time.
Yeah, where you do on the Corn Ferry Tour, right?
Exactly. Like, especially you make the cut on the Corn Ferry Tour, then if you don't shoot 8 under on the weekend, you're not going to move anywhere. Where especially Greenbrier and Jackson, and Napa for that sake, make the weekend, and then from there, if you shoot a couple under, 2 under each day, 4 under on the weekend, you'll actually move up a few spots. So you don't necessarily, like, if you get off to a bad start in the 3rd round or something like that, if you just kind of can grind it around even par and then maybe shoot a low one on the weekend, you can still make a difference. Where on the Corn Ferry, if you don't, you have to be both Saturday and Sunday. If you're not shooting low, you're not going to make a difference. So that's probably the adjustment where I have to maybe just say, okay, it's actually okay. If I'm not 5 under through 16 on Saturday, it's actually okay. We still have time, and it's not that big of a deal because we don't have to shoot that low. But I mean, you still want to shoot low, so it's a mixed feeling there, I think. Keeping away from the pin sometimes when you don't feel like you want to.
It's that tends to be the theme when we ask that question to some of these Corn Ferry guys in the past. It's always like, man, you just know when you step up on the number 1 on Thursday that you've got to freaking go low, and there is just no option. Like, do you think that should be adjusted a little bit? Like, I've seen talk of that where, what's the PGA? Where's the consistency in the setups? Because I mean, while the PGA Tour also, to me, I think has too many easy courses, or at least relative to the field, they appear easy. Too many tournaments where like 18, 20 under is winning. Do you think the Tour should adjust that a little bit, like where either they, maybe make these Korn Ferry tracks set up a little differently, and like see guys have to win a golf tournament where 8 under is going to win, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a strong believer in fair courses. So I know from an agronomy standpoint, it's hard to push a course and keep it right there on the limit where it starts being ridiculous and you can't control anything. Right. And the other side where it's perfect, but it's tough. Because when I think it starts becoming stupid is when you're from the middle of the fairway and no wind and you can't stop a 9-iron on the green. Like, I don't think golf should be played that way. And sometimes, and I get it, it's tough for them to keep the courses where it's tough but fair. And sometimes it just tips to the other side where they lose, like a couple of greens become so firm because they maybe got a little bit more wind than they expected, or the sun baked it out, or whatever it is. But I just think, like, especially on the PGA Tour, they're so good at getting the courses in the best shape that they can get them, that if you hit good shots, it's going to seem like it's easy because you get rewarded every time. It's not, right. You don't have the inconsistencies and the randomness to it as much. And I just think on the Korn Ferry, I just think the greens tend to be too soft, really. And we don't have enough rough. We had a few events this year, actually. It became like towards the end of the season, like in Colorado, too, the new course in Colorado, I'm telling you, that it's a monster golf course. So long, and the rough was rough as long, and the fairways weren't necessarily narrow, but if you didn't hit the fairways, you're not keeping on the greens, and the greens were brand new, so they were firm and really fast. So yeah, we were kind of joking around that we were playing at US Open rough with British Open greens, it was fun. I'd love for them to do it more, as long as they can keep the balance of keeping it tough but fair. And that's where, especially on the Korn Ferry Tour, sometimes it tips to the wrong side, especially in South American countries. But we've got to set expectations. I mean, they might not have the staff and the knowledge to get the courses to where they can push them a little bit without losing them.
All right, random question. We ask this of almost everybody, because you never know when you're just going to get a golden story, and you may or may not have one. But obviously, you play in a lot of pro-ams, whether you're Korn Ferry, PGA Tour. What's the most memorable pro-am moment, or individual, or just thing that you've seen in a pro-am that you'll never forget?
Give me a second. I mean, I have one in mind, but it's more of a greatness moment.
Oh yeah. See, we want something that's going to embarrass somebody.
Yeah, I figured you would want that.
Just
let me think, because I've played with. Okay, I won't name names and I won't name tournaments because then they might realize who I'm talking about. So I played in the Pro-Am. I will say it's this year, and it was 4 AMs, and I don't think the first 5 holes, I don't think anyone got to the fairway.
Yep.
I mean, we're supposed to be there for 5.5 hours with them, and they all take their first swing. We start on like the 5th hole, and they all take their first swing. 2 of the guys didn't even hit the ball, and then the 2 other people got it 30 yards off the tee. I'm like, I look at my caddy and I was like, this is going to be a long run. And that continued for 5 holes. And then one guy warmed up a little bit. He actually started hitting some shots, but 2 of the other people, they stopped playing after like 8 holes, and then they rode around the cart, which I guess was better actually. But that was probably it was to the point I had to go to the rules official. I said, listen, is this serious? Like, can we at least, I'm fine with playing in the Pro-Ams and I like it, but can we play with someone that can at least hit the ball?
Is there a guy, like, who are a couple guys on tour, on the PGA Tour right now, and that you've, like, maybe one that you've already had a relationship with, that you love getting paired up with these guys, or if you're playing a practice round, you'd want to try and connect with, or maybe you've got to dinner with, but also maybe a couple guys that you've met, even in the short, four tournaments so far, that you really enjoy.
Like recent guys that I've met, I really enjoy. I played with Brendan Steele at the Greenbrier. He's a super nice guy to play with. And I played a practice one with him in Napa, and super nice, chill guy, and very personable. But coming off, I mean, I graduated with. We have some good relationships with some of the people that came with us from the Corn Ferry Tour.
Yeah.
Just last week, like, I'm honestly, it's funny. I think you're gonna like this story. Alonto Griffin had, before we got when we had both locked up our carts, he approached me in Jacksonville because he lives there too. He goes, "Okay, let's make a pact next year. Whoever is higher ranked on the FedEx Cup is going to pick the other one for the Zurich." So we both get in because we're both in the same category. So if one of us is high enough and have the freedom to pick who they want to play with, we're going to pick each other. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And then I'm really good friends with Mark Hubbard, and because his wife Megan, we hang out with them a lot, and we're actually going to Europe with him in December and spending some time with them. So then we talked about it too, like, what are you doing for the Zurich? And I told Mark, I think Lancho and I have a deal. And then last week, they both told me the story. Now, after 7 holes in the final round, they had made 6 birdies between them, and they were 6 under and a best ball. And they look at each other. What are you doing for Zurich? And they say, I thought you were playing with Sebastian.
There's a love triangle here.
There is, but I don't know. Lanto, I talked to him the other day. He said it might actually be a tournament he ends up skipping now, but just because of his freedom now to schedule a little bit differently. But we'll see. Hopefully, I can get to play with one of them.
Dude, if they cuck you out of this arrangement and end up together, we'll send the TJ Nation out over those guys. I'm sure they're great guys, please. But they better not do that. That's I thought you were about to tell me they literally were like, oh yeah, well screw Sebastian, 600 through 7 on a best ball. Sounds like a deadly team to me.
No, they're loyal guys. I like those are 2 of my really good friends that. Especially the Hubbards, we hang out with a lot. So we have some good relationships. And I think that's important for my wife too, that we have some good relationships with some of the players that have their wives on the tour as well. Sure. So.
All right. So you just played the Greenbrier. Did you do any falconry while you were there?
We did. You did? That's unreal.
Dude. Okay. So we made fun of the Greenbrier a couple years ago because, they at the time they were freaking, I don't know what they were doing, but they were paying a lot of money. Every other commercial on the Golf Channel or any coverage event was a freaking come live at the Greenbrier Phil Mickelson commercial, and it talked about falconry, and it was just the most uppity white person ad I've ever seen. And the falconry thing just cracked us up. So if you go to our YouTube channel, I'll plug this because our listeners, if they've not done this, they need to do this too. Our YouTube channel, if you scroll way down, we have an old video of me prank calling the Greenbrier as a falconer expert and asking about getting a private falconry experience. And it was electric. What they told us, it's very funny. It's like a 4-minute video. So I always love asking if you got a little falconry in. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was mind blowing. Like how responsive and how trained those birds are. It's surreal. This guy, we were only 4 people that did it, so he kind of got a little bit more into everything and explained obviously how it started and how they used to hunt in the old days. And I mean, it works. I'm telling you, it's spot on. And that bird is so sharp.
Yeah.
Like we literally, us four people, he had it once. The bird was sitting in the tree and he was down there talking to us. And the bird doesn't do anything unless he flicks a piece of, I guess it's like a chicken foot or something that it comes and eats. But he had us standing, no joke, 12 inches apart, like shoulder to shoulder and then across shoulder to shoulder, 12 inches apart. and he held this piece of chicken down by our waist on the other side, and this bird came full speed and just tucked its wings in and flew right through us. Like, I have no idea how this bird did not hit us.
That's pretty sick. What about so what did they retrieve? What was it the Falcons were, or the birds were retrieving?
Well, I think the food was like little pieces of dried chicken, and I think there was like half pieces of chicken foot in there too.
Oh man, you got to go back and watch that YouTube video. It's freaking.
I'm going
to. You seem like a really nice guy, but just there's got to be some kind of dark side there. If you could punch any celebrity in the face without any consequence, who would you punch in the face?
There's a few guys I don't like.
Even that you can say.
I mean, even golfers that I don't like. No, it's just mean. That's just a mean question.
It kind of is, man. I know, but yeah, we're all human beings. Like, there's always somebody you're just looking. You're like, God, I would just punch that dude in the face if I could. You know.
I mean, I think my pet peeve is when athletes come out and say that they're great. I don't like that.
That they're what?
Like, come out and say that I'm the best. Like, they verbally say that themselves.
Oh yeah.
Like I have all the respect in the world for LeBron James, and I think he's great. But when he's asked a question at an interview, if he's worried about a playoff series when they're down 3-1 to Golden State or 3-0.
Well, there's a lot of people that want to punch LeBron right now after his China debacle. There's a lot of people.
That's probably more like a moment where I would say, okay, that moment I just want to punch him in the face. Yeah. And I'm sure there's plenty of athletes but like Tiger would never do that, and that's why I have so much respect for Tiger, or like Roger Federer.
Yeah.
Huge Roger Federer fan. My wife's a huge Roger Federer fan. He's the most humble guy you can find, and he would never come out and say, I'm the best tennis player in the world. People know that, and he knows that, and it doesn't have to be said.
Yeah. All right, so let's say you win your first PGA Tour event. Do you have anything that you've either already said you're going to buy, like a self-indulgent purchase? Like, obviously you win your first event, like you're going to be smart with it. You seem like a very smart guy. Like I said, I know you're not going to do anything dumb, but like, there's got to be something that you would spend your money on that's like a very self-indulgent thing. Like, I'm going to treat myself with this. What would that be?
I've always had this thing that obviously each of my victories, now I'm saying them in plural, so hopefully there'll be more. I want to have some sort of collection. And I think for me, it's going to be some sort of watch that signifies that tournament, that moment.
Yep.
And have some sort of engraving on it with the tournament, the date. I think that's going to be my thing, whether it's easy to think Rolex, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Rolex. I like going a little bit more different to have something that's more unique, but having a watch to signify as a victory, I think that's for me, it's a cool trophy for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing would probably be like, I would go find a super rare, expensive bottle of wine and buy that and just drink it. Just buy cheap pizza and drink $1,000 bottle of wine.
Love it. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good.
Yeah, no, I would be all in for that. As much as I hate spending, like going to the Whole Foods and spending too much on groceries, then I'm totally fine with going to buy an expensive bottle of wine and just drink it with cheap food.
Love it. What about like a guilty pleasure, like musician or artist? You know, like for me, I'm a self-admitted, have been for a long time, fan of Justin Bieber. I mean, I like Justin Bieber, but I get made fun of for that. You're not supposed to like Justin Bieber as a testosterone-filled male in the U.S., right? So any guilty pleasures that musically that you turn on and you feel kind of like you shouldn't, but you do?
I feel like I definitely do. What do I turn on? I have some TV shows that I watch, and my wife just looks at me like,
"What are those? You got some trash TV?"
Yeah, I like some of those some of the CW shows like The Flash and Arrow and some of
Yep.
those superhero like really
Yeah.
soap opera. Like I watched 100 on CW, which is so
Yep.
soap opera and it's trying to be super serious, but I love it.
So no music though? You don't have like what's your
Uh,
go-to music selection? Like what's hot in your your AirPods right now?
Um, dude, I love like 80s, 70s old music,
Oh
like
wow.
Supertramp, Eagles,
Wow. Pat would be
Steve
very excited
Perry.
listening to this right now.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I'm a huge. I'm like I would say if where I spend the most time other than golf of an activity is probably playing music.
Yeah, because you
Um,
play, right? You play like
yeah,
guitar, piano, is that right?
I love piano and play guitar. Um, and it's kind of like a sin for me. Like if I have a bad day, and my wife will attest to this, that if I go spend 20 minutes at the piano, I'm a different person when I come back.
Wow, that's
It's
cool.
kind of
That's
my,
very cool.
it's kind of my meditation. But yeah, I love it.
That's good, man. You gotta have something like that. That's awesome. That's really good. So, can you
Um,
sing? Are you a singer?
no, when I'm by myself, I think I can sing, but I know I can't.
Don't worry, I won't ask you to sing. I just so you can answer honestly. I
Okay.
promise I won't ask you to sing. What's something on the tour you think needs to be fixed? Like, what's the? I mean, obviously, slow play was a hot topic last year. I mean, there's some tour
Yeah.
players that have come out and said you really can't fix it. There's too many guys on the golf course. It's really not gonna make a difference.
Yeah,
Or
I
is
mean, there is too many guys. Just take last week in Houston. I mean, I was the third to last group on Thursday and Friday, and I asked the rules officials, what is the time par? Like, what are we supposed to be playing? And he goes 4:34, and we played in 5 hours and 10 minutes. We're like 40 minutes over. I'm like, what are you
yeah,
doing? He's like, there's too many guys on the golf course. It gets back, and there's a par five. People are going for it. It gets back up. No one's playing slow, but it just gets backed up. It's like going on the highway when it's rush hour. If everyone would just go fast, it would go fast, but there's just too
yeah,
many cars.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a tough one. Like, how do you really monitor it and how? I mean, obviously, the one that always comes up is it's got to start giving guys penalty strokes, then they're going to start playing faster.
Right.
Because most
Are
of the
you a
guys
pretty
they don't care
are you a
about the
pretty
money.
fast player yourself?
I'm not the I'm not the fastest, but I can play fast because I don't give a crap when it's someone's turn. I will go, and it gets on some people's nerves, but I don't care. Like if I see someone fiddling around and I'm
You're
actually not, it's not my turn, I will just hit.
oh, I like that.
And
I
some
like
people,
that.
I don't know, it's some people have told me before that they don't like that, or yeah, I don't know. I just when I'm ready on the tee, I'll hit. If they're not on the tee, I'll just hit, and they don't like that. I'm like, okay, dude, you gotta go, man.
You're out there trying to enforce ready golf, man.
I left ready golf. Like I don't see why not. Like what when you were on a long par four and it's a no brainer driver, who has an advantage of hitting second versus first?
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, like I get on a par three, maybe okay, I want to hit second because I want to see this guy hit the shot, or I want to see what the wind does to the
Right.
shot. Fair enough, you want to keep the water on the par three, but on a par four, what's a no brainer? Why do you care? But that's just me.
I can't wait for you. Like I would love, and we don't have to make this public, but and you don't have to, you probably don't have to or need to respond to this next statement, but I am not a big Bryson DeChambeau fan, and that is very public. So I would love for you to, if you ever get paired up with him in the coming year, pull that ready golf move and then just, text us and tell us how that went over. We won't share it.
Yeah,
Just for I would
yeah,
love to see that
absolutely,
happen.
no problem. We're all our own egos out there. We got to do us. So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we can't really
Yeah.
worry about too much about hurting each other's feelings. Like we're all trying to win a golf tournament, and if this
I
works for
love
me,
that.
it's going to work for me. As long as I'm not physically hurting someone else's game, they can't really. I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't really care.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love the attitude. I love kind of how you approach it and approach the game. We can't wait to see what the year turns out for you, and hopefully our listeners have a new appreciation for Sebastian Cappelen, and we look forward to tracking you and hopefully see a big year to come, and appreciate you coming on the podcast, and would love to have you on
absolutely,
again.
anytime. For sure, anytime. Just let me know.
Tour Junkies.